Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Run right at them.
So more of the same. Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But right at them. Don't try to run into the alley. Run it right at them.
Jets favored by 6. So really, it's 3.5.
Indy by 1.
Ooh, tough one. What's that? What's that really though, Fred?
Well, they're -2 then.
Plus 2.
Well, there you go.
No, Indy's +1. They get 3, so they're -2.
They're at home, so they would be
They get 3.
right.
Right.
So it's really like they're plus 2.
They should be 4.
So if you're getting 3, that means they're favored by 1.
No, they're not getting it.
They're giving points. They're favored by 1.
They didn't get the 3.
You're welcome, everybody.
If you're gonna follow the nonsensical 3 points for the home team
don't
thing,
bring-
what would the spread be if it was neutral?
I drank a whole thing of Gatorade, and with my prostate, it was in me, and it had to come out.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and we're talking about the Patriots. I don't know what that was on Thursday night. I have kind of an analogy to make about that. I'll talk about later, but we'll talk about that game Thursday night, what the Patriots need to do to regroup from that, and we'll talk about the NFL because we had a weekend off and we got to watch games all weekend, so we can talk about the state of the league. I don't know if the rest of you are getting the feeling, but something's weird about the league this year. I don't know what I can't put my finger on it right yet.
I'm waiting for a national columnist to come out with a big expose about her major injuries on the rise, which happens every year at this time.
No, it's not injuries.
But injuries are definitely.
It's not injuries. It's not the fact that defenses seem to have a little bit of an advantage right now, unless
that kind of took a backseat this weekend.
Yeah, unless it's Monday night and it's the Bills or the other game. But just something is weird about the league this year, and I haven't yet put my finger on it. I'll probably be able to do that in a couple weeks.
Do you think just like outside of Kansas City and Buffalo,
2 big market teams
being undefeated, and because those pieces feel the same to me. I mean,
Yeah.
Kansas City and Buffalo look
even Kansas City's a little weird this year.
Oh, sure, they're something a
Yeah.
little weird though lately. Like, I mean, they're always good, but they do it kind of different ways.
Yeah,
but
they do
I
it-
mean, I get what you're saying. It's just
Yeah.
it's been a lot of unpredictable results. I think is reflected in the picks, perhaps again this week, Paul. I don't know if you tallied those up, but
I have tallied them
great.
up.
Well, you don't
and
want to give that away.
it's another time. I'm not going to give you the results. I'm just going to tell you it's another terrible week
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah.
Some people would call it parody. I would call it stinking. Just across the board.
Well, why do you say stinking?
I just think the league offensively is not in a great place.
Well, what if you could say defensively it's getting better? Like,
I
why
don't
is
see
it
it that way because I think it's mistakes, like quarterbacks throwing bad interceptions and offensive coordinators not running good game plans, smart play calls. Like we see it here. Like I just that's the way that I take it now. Josh Allen will have his day like he always does, like he did last night, and Daniels look great. That's good for the league if he's a hit as a young quarterback. But overall, the quarterback play is lacking.
And you don't think defenses have anything to do with that?
Sure, a little bit.
I would say like Minnesota, as an
Yeah.
example. Brian Flores is obviously doing something right.
Right.
I know Brock Purdy was caught on a microphone afterwards. you get crazy scheme. They did the same thing to Stroud. These are teams that have been pretty successful offensively, and that's the outlier. So
Yeah.
Minnesota's obviously doing something, but overall, I would kind of just say it's been up and down, and it's more. I think there's right now there's a good chunk of young quarterbacks that are learning on the fly.
Yep.
And that's going to knock defense down a little. I mean, knock offense down a little bit.
Maybe that could be it.
anything with practice time and training camp and that kind of stuff, kind of.
That's where
playing
I'm
into it
coming
as well.
from. That's the angle I'm coming from with it. This is truly September extension of the preseason level stuff offensively. There's just not a whole lot of rhythm to these offenses right now, and you watch across the league. And when you don't have rhythm, you don't have timing down, you don't have chemistry between quarterbacks and receivers. The line play has been terrible across the league, not just here in New England, really everywhere. They have offensive line issues. It's to me, it goes back to the summer, and teams are doing less and less and less in training camp and ramping it up during the season. I mean, the Bengals are 0-3. Yeah, and this is how we're going about it now. I'm not saying it's better or worse. Like, I'm sure we'll get to January and it'll be right back to where it normally is once they work out some of the issues early on in the season. But if you want it to be good football in September, we're not getting that on the offense side of the ball.
But the practice schedules for the off season and training camp haven't changed in like 7-8 years since the latest collective bargain. So there's got to be more, and Paul's talking about young quarterbacks. There's like a
big part of it,
more than the average maybe right now. That could be part of it too. And you combine that with less training, and I don't know. But it just doesn't seem.
No,
it seems off to me.
I hear you, but it's been 3 weeks too. I feel like it's going to get back to that point, and we get to November, it'll make a little bit more sense. I think they're definitely outliers. I mean, you mentioned Cincinnati not winning a game, and Baltimore last week was kind of up against it, and then they bounced back and have a big win in Dallas. There's just some confusing records right now, I think, a little bit,
Well,
too.
definitely the records, those, to me, they're two separate things. Because I agree with you, Mike, there's some teams that you would have expected to be better than this. Certainly, you wouldn't have thought Baltimore was kind of fighting for their season, in a road game at Dallas. But Evan's point about the offense, I think you've already started to see a little bit of it. I thought that the offenses were a little bit more productive this week. I don't have the numbers. Maybe that's just anecdotal and I'm way off. But, Washington's got a rookie quarterback. They haven't punted in 2 weeks or turned the ball over.
Right.
Yeah.
So their offense looks pretty good. They were dynamite last night. Cincinnati's offense was dynamite last night. Now all of a sudden that you have some players back on the field, in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and it's amazing how that works. I just watch, talk about the young quarterbacks. Carolina is a dreadfully bad football team, but all of a sudden they put 30-plus on the board when they have a quarterback that's actually played in the league a little bit. And I'm not suggesting this is proof of why you don't play young quarterbacks. That's not the argument I'm trying to make.
No.
I'm just saying, obviously, a guy with some experience is going to get more out of less than a guy with no experience is. And Bryce Young, let's face it, he struggled badly.
Maybe he's just not good.
He might not be good, but he also just might not be ready.
Because I know a lot of people wanted to equate that to Patriots situation.
See, that's why you sit Drake Maye.
You put in a better quarterback, assuming Drake May's better than Jacoby Brissett, and a bad team can all of a sudden be.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I heard everybody saying when Bryce Young got benched, that was proof that the Patriots were doing the right thing with Drake Maye.
Oh, no. I heard that, I heard a lot of things, but one of the things I heard is a good quarterback can make a bad team better. And, Dalton is good enough.
Well, I would agree with that premise, but I don't necessarily see how it correlates to the Patriots.
Well, no, but it's what they're saying is, Carolina wasn't that bad.
Oh,
it was all about the quarterback.
They are. I mean, some of us saw that win coming. Others didn't.
Nice.
I thought we were all on. No?
Oh, I think, we no need to talk about this game.
That's Thursday's show.
There's no need to talk about this game. We're just going to move on.
You got it? You got it right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And just to be fair, it had nothing to do with Carolina. It had everything to do with Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas stinks, and I think that you're just putting Vegas in with a Sharpie against anybody makes no sense at all to me. They're a terrible team, too.
Yep.
They're one of the dregs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Terrible's probably strong. They're not a really good team. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Maybe they're not terrible.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
So we have to do it. I know it seems like a long time ago, but this has been our first regular Patriots Unfiltered since that debacle, 24-3. And believe me, the score didn't represent how bad it was for the Patriots. And I looked at that game on the
21-point loss. It was pretty.
No, I know, but
pretty indicative of the.
It seemed more. It seemed like it should have been more. But I looked at that game and I was thinking about how bad just dysfunctional the offense was, and I couldn't but think about that Eagles joint practice. It was. I don't think it was the complete train wreck that was, but it was similar where you just couldn't run your offense because you didn't have any time back there. And, you had the game in Cincinnati that gave us some hope. They played not quite as good, but, they went to overtime with the Seahawks, who, they won again. But this game, they fell they fell off the cliff back to where they were in preseason with this offensive line.
Yeah, the hard part for me was that Andrews and Onwenu played terribly, and you can kind of expect Michael Jordan and Caden Wallace to struggle picking up stunts a little bit. Like, all right, that might happen, but it just seemed like one of those games where it was, now it's your turn to make a mistake.
Well,
now it's your turn to make a mistake, and they just went
this is
right around
where-
with everybody.
This is where I need to hear from the coaches because they know for sure. Was Andrews made to look bad because he was covering up for other people's mistakes?
Well,
like sometimes that happens where all of a sudden you're not blocking anyone because somebody screwed up. And, but I don't know.
We'll call it when you get run over by Quinnen Williams.
Well, that's,
and when he was on the injury report last week, Andrews was. It was a short week, so, I mean, I'm not going to totally kill him for it, but, there was one popular play we've been talking about with Onwenu on the first third down where he just lets a rusher go right through the gap next to him. I mean, and you've heard Jerod say that all week this week about we can't have instant pressure in the A and B gaps, and that's the non-starter for this team right now.
And for Andrews, I think Mike makes a really strong point. Like, there's a couple of guys. He's a really, really good center, but there are a couple of guys that have really given him a hard time. Quinnen Williams is one of them. DeForest Buckner's another.
Great size.
To Mike's point about his health going into that game, and I think we all just assumed he was going to play because he's David Andrews,
right?
And those are the kinds of guys. But I do think there was some uncertainty. I was told, and I can't think of the guy's name now because
Brian Hudson.
Thank you. Traveled, to the game, practice squad center. Now we know that they've had no confidence whatsoever in their backup center situation. So the fact that they traveled a practice squad center tells me they had at least some percentage of thought that David might not be able to play in that game.
Sure.
Yeah, they've had a handful of practice squad guys travel.
Yeah, I know the Mammoth guy traveled too, right?
I don't want to give away too much.
No, it's
info,
not.
But
I'm telling. This is what I was told. This is
yeah.
not from people that were on the travel party telling you. So you're not giving away any secrets.
Yeah. They've had a few guys that have been practice squad travel. Mike, we'll get to your defense in a second.
Thank you. No, I have plenty to say about them too.
It's not great offensively. I'm at the point now where I'm starting to point fingers in other places besides the offensive line because the offensive line is what it is. Like, it's not good. It's not going to get any better overnight. Maybe they get some health and they get some pieces back.
Well, they need continuity.
Yeah, and they build some continuity and
Right.
it improves that way. But your talent on the line is what it is, especially at the tackle spots. It's deficient. It's a bad offensive line. At this point, it turns to, well, what do we do to mask it? What do we do to make up for the fact that we have a bad offensive line? And that's where I start pointing the fingers at the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. Like, the coordinator and the play calls that are being called are just as big of a factor in the line play as the guys that are actually making the blocks. And the quarterback getting rid of the ball in a timely manner is just as big of a deal as the line play as well. Like, Washington, and I know we're probably going to talk about this anyways with Jaden Daniels. Washington coming into the season was ranked 32nd in the league in terms of offensive line talent. The Patriots were 31st. Then last night, all I hear on Twitter is about how much better of an offensive line Washington has than the Patriots.
Terrible offensive line.
They have a left tackle, a rookie left tackle, drafted in the 3rd round, 1 pick ahead of Caden Wallace. Brandon Coleman from TCU, 1 pick ahead.
But that doesn't make a difference. That has all to do with scouting. Just because Caden Wallace was drafted one spot, that doesn't mean he's as good. He could be terrible, and the Patriots made a bad pick.
He could be, but I look at Cliff Kingsbury in the offense that they're running with Jaden Daniels. I look at Jaden Daniels being maybe a stud at the quarterback position, and then all of a sudden, Washington's offensive line doesn't look like a complete train wreck.
Sure.
Wow, imagine that, right? And I just, the Patriots' offensive line is bad. Do you know what also is bad? Running a 7-step play-action drop-back with a bad offensive line, or trying to run a bootleg into an unblocked defender for the 10th time this season.
Again, 7-step drop is okay as long as when you drop, you throw it. As long as when that back foot hits, you get rid of the ball.
It's really hard to 7-step drop with a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
You have the quarterback turning his back to the defense. Your 7-step, that's a 3-second play at the minimum. And if you have a line like this, they're gonna struggle. So I know Van Pelt has his system. I know he wants to be an under center team. I know he wants to run the ball. He wants to play action off the run game. I'm not sure that this group can execute the offense that he wants to run. So, yes, the blocking is horrible. They're the worst pass protection in the NFL, statistically, by pretty much every single measure. Pressure rate, pass rush win rate, all across the board. But now it comes down to, well, this is the cards that you're being dealt. What are you going to do with it?
What did you think about after the game, Van Pelt saying, I basically should have called the game I called in Cincinnati instead of what we did?
Yeah, I mean, we played the clip at the beginning of the show of me saying run right at the Jets, and they didn't run right at the Jets.
Yeah.
They did the opposite. Now, he said that he felt like they had earned the right to pass the ball. But my whole thing is what do the Jets defenders care about what you did 2 weeks ago? Like, yes, some guys are going to be really well studied, and they're going to say, they ran this blocking scheme against the Bengals in the second quarter on first down at so-and-so time of the game. That's what they're running again, and it's not the same thing. But most of the time in a game, until you see it against you in a game, like, why would you overreact to a play-action play before they've even ran a run play? Like, why would a defense overreact to outside zone in a bootleg when they haven't even tried to run outside zone on them yet? That doesn't compute. I feel as though at this point we have to put some of the blame on the other pieces in this offense, mainly at quarterback and offensive line. And I'll just give you one last example. They are running these plays into defenses where the play is not going to work. And Jacoby Brissett's coming to the line of scrimmage, and I'm told that he's this game-managing veteran quarterback that's going to, get them, in and out of the huddle and do all these things at such a high level, and they're running into blitzes, and it's getting blown up in the backfield.
Yeah, that's on the quarterback.
So at what point are we, going to? I get it. The offensive line's an easy target, but at what point are we going to start to think about what can we change to play around this offensive line? Because this is not NFL football, what they're running on offense.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't given up hope yet on the offensive line. And this would point the finger back at the coaching staff, but they have to get better. I mean, Michael Onwenu did not get paid to sit there and forget what the hell he's doing and watch a guy run right at the first, third down of the game. David Andrews, like you said, Paul, it is what it is. I like Robinson. Those guys, they need some time, but I hear what Evan's saying. They have to progress. They have to get better.
So going back to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I didn't hear this, but I heard somebody say that Karen Garigian was on over the weekend with somebody, and she was being interviewed, and her reporting had somebody inside saying that in the film room, Drake Maye doesn't know what he's looking at yet. He's not ready mentally.
That would be my guess.
Did you hear that?
No, I did not hear it.
I didn't hear that.
No.
But I didn't hear Karen say that, but I'm not terribly surprised.
And I could be
that.
wrong. This is not Karen saying it. This is someone saying Karen said it.
Right.
So Karen, if I got it wrong, I'm sorry.
And it might also be, someone told Karen that.
Right.
So
right.
it's not like she's
Yeah.
in the locker room, in the film room. But I will say the whole, Evan brings up a lot of interesting points. And this is going to be weird for me because you're going to make fun of me. Like, I'm going to be a little defensive, not necessarily of the entire operation, but I do think the Jets deserve some credit for Thursday night because I think that's why I said it's going to be not taken well.
That's
No,
fine.
that's fair.
Because I think that
Rodgers
they
had a great night.
No. Well, we're going to get to that in a second.
Your defense, Mike.
Okay, but just to maybe tie up the bow here on the offensive struggles, I thought the Jets did a lot of things in this game defensively that they're not necessarily known for. They were helped by a lot of the stuff that Evan said. Like, they didn't run it right at them. They didn't try to do what they've done to the first two opponents, and they sort of played into the Jets' hands. But to defend Alex Van Pelt, I don't know how he could have foreseen the amount of blitzing the Jets did when they really hadn't blitzed a tremendous amount before that. And I thought they not only blitzed, but I thought they kind of got a little bit
cocky.
Maybe not exotic isn't the right word because most of this stuff was kind of basic, but they took advantage of an inexperienced offensive line, and they fooled them. It wasn't just beating them. Like, Caden Wallace had his hands full, but there were times where guys were coming in completely untouched because they were fooled. So, and I'm not taking the coaches off the hook for that. That's coaching. But I'm going to give the Jets some credit for doing some things, and they were allowed to do them because they can do that knowing they have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed back there, and they're not going to get hurt necessarily by, a still developing group of wide receivers. Can I say that as politely as I can?
There's no fear of the Patriots throwing the ball down the field.
Right.
So when they go under center, teams are just teeing off. Like, they're being very aggressive. They're blitzing, run blitzing and pass blitzing because they just know that there's no way it's going over the top. So what's the fear of sending the house here because we're not going to get beat? It irks me when I see these types of mistakes and these breakdowns happen with unblocked rushers because this is why I'm being told Drake Maye is not playing. I'm being told that he's not playing because of the film room and because he's not ready to set protections and he's not ready mentally to do all these things. Well, neither is this guy. Like, they're rolling a safety down and they're sending a blitz off the left-hand side. He snaps the ball anyways, and it's blown up in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
It's
and you might be right. He may not know what he's doing either, but people who are looking for the reason to get Drake Maye in there, that's not it. I mean, if they're both not be able to do it, then you might as well keep Jacoby.
But I would just say,
yeah,
I think that Cincinnati and Seattle combined for the fewest amount of blitzes against one team. The Patriots have been blitzed very infrequently in the first 2 weeks, and then that kind of changed from a team that hasn't blitzed a ton. So sometimes I think the other team is just overlooked in these things.
On that blitz stat, is that percentage of dropbacks or just total blitz? It's because they passed more in this game, so there's more opportunity to blitz.
So
they
blitzed
passed more in this game?
In the Jets game, they threw the ball more.
Negligible.
No,
they didn't have the ball.
I know, but
they didn't run plays.
The first 2 drives, I think they threw it like 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 plays or something.
Yeah, I know, but it was 3 and out.
No,
3 and out.
I'm just saying, is the number of times blitz is a percentage of dropbacks or just total number of blitzes?
I think it's both.
Percentage of dropbacks is the stat that I saw.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's a little of both, but I don't think they threw the ball in incredible amount of times in this game until especially with Jacoby Brissett. I'm eliminating the last drive.
Yeah.
When that was different. The Drake Maye drive.
Yeah.
But during the game, I don't think that they didn't have the ball. They didn't possess the ball enough to run any plays.
No.
Yeah, what I keep coming back to with it is style of play. And I know that we all want them to run the ball and that be their identity because it worked in the first couple weeks of the season. But I just have a really tough time imagining that they are going to be able to block this type of offense where a lot of their plays where they're trying to push the ball down the field are these longer developing play action, bootleg actions, things like that. Whereas
that I think is fair.
When you get into the game with a quarterback like Drake Maye, as much as we want to throw away the drive at the end of the game because it was garbage time, let's also look at how they played with him in the preseason too, when he played a little bit. And they're in the gun, they're spread, the ball's coming out faster. He's an athlete back there, so he can run around when he needs to. And to me, that type of offense for the personnel that they have is going to be a lot more successful than them trying to play action pass from under center with Jacoby Brissett.
Is it time, Mike?
For what, the defense?
Yeah. So I'm going to tee up Mike because I know Mike is really really disappointed.
He's upset about the defense as I am about the offense.
We just spent 23 minutes talking about the offense, and we're critical of the offense. They haven't moved the ball, but so they deserve the criticism. I don't know how many people thought it was going to be a whole lot better than it has been. Like, the offense is what it is. They had personnel issues up front at wide receiver, and you have a veteran journeyman backup starting at quarterback. So I don't know who thought they were going to light it up. You thought the defense was going to keep you in every game.
Yeah.
They had a chance to win the previous game at the end and couldn't do it. And this, to me, was a total system breakdown. They were outplayed for 60 full minutes by the Jets offense in this game. And I don't know how many people envisioned that.
Would they have been better with Christian Barmore on the field and Matt Judon on the field? Because that's what people thought that defense was
Right.
at the
No,
beginning.
I'm
of the
talking
season.
about last week.
No, I know.
I'm not going back to like May.
No, I know,
I'm
but-
talking about this is what people thought
Okay.
after Cincinnati.
All right. Okay.
And
Okay.
Like, yes, of
pieces-
course they would be better without Christian Barmore in the lineup. You traded Judon, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay.
You had the pieces early in the spring that you thought the defense had enough, and you've lost the key pieces that you didn't have any depth back, and I think everything just kind of came home to roost. Now, I'd also just say they didn't look ready to play. They didn't look like they were ready to replace Jawan Bentley. I mean, Raekwon McMillan can only bounce off Braylon Allen so many times before you realize he's not going to
Told you I was
be
going to tee him up.
he's not going to be a tackle machine Mike linebacker that you need. And I mean, C.J. Mosley, Fred Warner, I mean, you're seeing close up what the center of the defense needs. And, I think Paul had a good point talking yesterday about Jelani Tavai. I seem a little bit overwhelmed. Like, he's not going to really be that guy either. And so, I mean, not a lot of teams have that extra player, but it was just glaring with those two. Didn't really look ready to play. I mean, they think they were 1 and 2 in missed tackles. And then, again, it goes back to the point of the Daniel Aquales of the world, the Jeremiah Farms, the guys that are journeymen that are not really meant to be every down impact type players. I mean, DeMarcus Covington got asked about him on, on Friday. And, I mean, I thought his, talking about Daniel Aquale, he's got a lot to do. I mean, but this guy isn't meant to be next to Devon Godchaw on every single down. So they just don't have the horses. I mean, they don't have the horses
And I
in
would
the
agree with
pass rush.
that.
And
I get Fred's point. I would agree with, you lose Barmore, you lose Judon, you lose Bentley. I mean, that's significant. I didn't think, and missed tackles aside, I think the missed tackles are probably a one-off. Thursday night,
Right.
I'll give them some of the. I don't like the way the secondary has looked for 2 weeks now. I don't like the fact that quarterbacks have been able to get out of the pocket for 2 weeks now. And I don't like the fact that the defensive coordinator says it's not about X's and O's, which is what he said last Friday.
In other words, we're scheming it right. They're not executing.
Well,
Is
yeah,
that what he's saying?
I'm not
pointing to
going
the
to put words in his
fundamentals.
mouth,
He was
but
pointing to tackling, to
fundamentals.
maybe I'm just so browbeaten. It's like muscle memory. I'm so many years of losses around here that were, we didn't like it, but it was we just got to coach him better.
Yeah.
We got to, this is on us. It starts with us. And it was striking to hear him say, it's not about X's and O's. It was a little about X's and O's. They did stuff that you weren't expecting, and they had success with everything they did. Yeah. So it was at least a little about X's and O's. It wasn't just missed tackles.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree with them? It wasn't 400 yards, of missed tackles.
No.
Especially the execution of keeping him in the pocket, which just was not,
And to your point, Fred, it felt worse. I agree with you. It felt worse than 24 points. This is only because the Jets made so many mistakes. They had like 7 offensive penalties in the game.
Yeah.
I just, to me, it's an overall lack of discipline on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm willing to give it a little bit.
I didn't say I've given up.
No, because a lot of their issues against the Jets, just watching the film back, were self-inflicted. And so I wonder if some of those things can be corrected maybe a little bit easier than it appeared on Thursday night. The discipline of pass rush keeping the quarterback in the pocket, for example.
That's correctable.
That's
no
correctable.
doubt.
They're running a lot of scheme rushes because they don't have Judon and they don't have Barmore. So they're running these simulated pressures. They're running stunts. They're running all sorts of stuff up front to get guys loose in the pass rush. But in order to do that, there's usually a guy or two who their job is simply just to keep the quarterback in the pocket. Like, you got to mirror the quarterback, Josh Uche. You can't just go inside the tackle when they're running a blitz on the other side, because Aaron Rodgers is going to try to escape to your side. So let him come to you. Don't go to him, right? And with him, I have developing takes. But in general, that's what I see a lot of the time. Daniel Aquale gets stuck out on the edge because they're running a sim, and he gets stuck out there. He's a defensive tackle. He's not used to playing over the tackle. Rodgers breaks out to the right, hits a receiver downfield on third down. If you make those plays on third down, then all of a sudden you're off the field. Right?
I'll tell you what can really concern me, and everything you guys are talking about X's and O's, I wholeheartedly agree with. And I would also agree that most of it is correctable. The thing that stuck out to me is I've seen in the past the start of that game a million times, whereas the other team has a good plan, catches Bill off guard, catches Steve and the rest of the staff off guard, and you give up maybe 10 quick points, and then it changes a little bit, and it settles in. The game declares, as Bill used to love to say, and it settles down. There was no adjustment to Ty freaking Conklin just running unabated in the middle of the defense for seemingly the easiest pitches and catches that I've ever seen. Some of those were as a result of Rodgers breaking containment in the pocket and extending the play a little bit, but it certainly looked pretty much by design that the Jets wanted to do this stuff. I would have thought Garrett Wilson would have never had any opportunity, in the old days, never had any opportunities to make plays. I thought he was open pretty much every play. That they missed an easy touchdown to him. It would have got called back by a penalty anyway on a garbage call on Wilson going upfield before the
that's
snap.
The one where Gonzalez fell down.
Yeah. Just be a little shake. He had another in the red zone where he shook him, for just almost didn't even get a hand on him. Like, I would have thought that kind of stuff would have been tapered off as the game went on, and I didn't really see it change at all until the Jets decided to just throttle it down in the fourth quarter.
I think the floodgates opened, and it was
they couldn't stop him.
They couldn't stop him.
And give credit to Aaron Rodgers too. I mean, that's
Aaron Rodgers is great, but he looked like Aaron Rodgers.
He got comfortable. They never got him
3
off
years
the
ago.
spot.
Yeah, he looked great.
I was dead wrong about that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers in the first 2 weeks did not look like the Aaron Rodgers they played on Thursday night. He looked like MVP. 2019 Aaron Rodgers.
Any silver linings at this point? I have one, but any silver linings?
That it was a short week, and that they were banged up, and that that like Jamal Bentley. I mean, it's that's, and honestly, like I've seen games like this in the past. I've seen the old Patriots teams have games where they were not on today, they were not tackling. Like it was just the simple stuff of getting off blocks, making plays. So I think some of the discipline stuff can be, like Gonzalez has somehow gotten off the rails. Like I think Christian Gonzalez has played 6 games, and he's going to be a really good player. He's got a ways to go, but I still feel he's a silver lining. I don't think he's arrived in any sense. I'm not going to that he's anywhere close to a finished product, but I continue to be enthusiastic about him and about Keon White. But it feels a little like 2020 on defense, where you don't have impact NFL players on that side of the ball. You've got a handful of guys trying to make it work. I mean, I thought the Jets playing with Mike Williams targeting Jonathan Jones. I mean, it just makes you realize that maybe Jonathan Jones is best served. He's really kind of a slot corner. Like that's, maybe he's a little bit miscast playing as an outside corner and really thinking that he's, an elite outside piece like that. He's entering the last year of his deal. So I think there were a lot of questions on the defensive side of the ball, which you kind of knew there were going to be, and they shored some of it up this offseason, but they have to get impact players, especially in the pass rush up front, to win up front. Like, I mean, that's what stood out to me with the Jets, with Quinn and Williams and the rest of them. They just were playing at a different level than the Patriots' offensive line was. I mean, they were just all over them. I mean, David Andrews was just overwhelmed at times, and you could tell it's the Jets' home opener. Like, why did I overlook that? Like, why did I just the Jets don't really look that good? Like, this is Aaron Rodgers coming back to the field where he got hurt. They feel like they've got the pieces now. Like, it's going to be a buzzsaw on a short week, and we're missing some of our biggest leaders. I think we should have been a little bit more.
They never weathered the storm. Any silver linings for you guys?
I like the short week silver lining, though.
I like in general just I do think the corrections on defense the things on defense are correctable. I do think they can fix some of those things, and they had some plays on third down where I thought the initial coverage was decent, and they were going to get home with the pass rush, and then Rodgers would just get out of the pocket and make something happen. He hits Lazard on a backside crosser. It's like, well, if he doesn't get out of the pocket and extend the play, then he probably never finds the backside crosser because Dietrich Wise is bringing him down for a sack. So, there's little things like that I think are correctable. Even though the game plan stunk and it didn't work, getting Pop Douglas going a little bit was encouraging. I like how they got him going. Some of the plays that they ran for him I thought were neat and productive. So that can't be the only thing that you have offensively, but it was better than it was in the first 2 weeks with him. So just one silver lining on offense, I suppose, would be that.
I know it's kind of crazy to say a team coming off a 4-10 season need to be humbled, but I think, you had the big win in Cincinnati. You had a game where you probably thought you let get away against Seattle. Maybe they were starting to smell themselves a little bit. And from the coaching staff on down, maybe this was, a silver lining in the fact that, whoa, we're a long way away. We got a lot of work to do on both sides of the ball and in coaching. And maybe after week 3, it's not a bad thing to get humbled a little bit.
Now, you had to feel that games like this might happen. I mean, just to me, though, is how do you respond now? And it's not easy.
Yeah.
Going on the road in
It's a
San
test.
Francisco, it's as hard of a follow-up test that you could possibly have. They've got some injuries, but how does this team respond, especially, defensively, where I feel like there's an effort thing that is obvious out of the gate. And, we did our little preview. It's like, if you don't show up and tackle and set the edge against this team, like, you're going to be in for a really long day against these guys, no matter who's playing.
Yep. All right. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Okay. So I guess we can turn it over to the listeners right now, unless there's
Sure. You got some
anything
emails?
else you want to talk about.
A lot of emails coming in. No?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Tons of emails. Tons of emails
Read
coming in. League-wide, anything else you want to just button up before
I said to Evan, I'm like,
Who you
freaking
got?
Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in the AFC. Like, what's even the point right now? Like, why are we even trying? Like, these two guys are so good. I mean, Josh Allen just looked excellent last night. The way they were working the ball around, the way they used their running backs. I mean, he was just in the zone last night. It felt like he just couldn't miss. Like,
He's been the
He's an
MVP
awesome
of the
player.
league through 3 weeks.
awesome player.
And if you don't play tight coverage and at the same time marry that with a lack of a pass rush,
Oh, no.
that's what happens on defense
that-
when you
is that
play
a-
Josh Allen.
Is that a Lewis Riddick or a
But-
Daniel Lodge?
Sweet,
But
no,
you
it
watch
was a
that game.
Sweet Lou. Sweet Lou was apoplectic
only
with how
watched the-
soft
I only watched
the
the-
Jags coverage was last night.
I only
It was
watched the
bad.
first half, but did you see
That's all
the
you needed.
time
Oh.
that Josh Allen had?
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, like, that's ridiculous.
Sweet Lou was
Yeah.
man. He was on it last night. I
Yeah.
loved Lewis Riddick. And this, I think there's a little something that he's kind of like Evan and I with this defensiveness of Josh Allen. Like, somehow Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl, so he sucks now. And it's just like, man, you're just not watching if you think that guy can't play.
Oh, and you talk about Rodgers being able to flick it out. I mean, some of the throws that Allen had just using his wrist and throwing it 30 yards downfield
How about the
on a
one
rope.
How about the one rolling to his left to Ty Johnson?
Yeah, or the touchdown to Kincaid.
Oh,
My God.
the
Yeah.
touchdown to
Lazy.
Kincaid.
Yeah.
But he's
was
not
just
supposed to
like-
be able to roll to his left.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He's on another level. Mahomes is on another level.
Yeah.
Mahomes
Yeah.
is I don't know about Mahomes.
Window wide open.
Well, no, the offense as a whole at Kansas City is having some issues. For sure.
Mahomes is a check down artist all of a sudden. I mean, I'm like teasing a little bit, but
Well, he has more downfield throws this year than he did all last year combined already. Like, completions.
maybe that all in week one. Like his A-dot's like dead last in the league. He's not throwing
I
the
don't know
ball
what
down
that
the
means.
A-Dot.
I don't
average depth of
I
target.
don't care either.
5.1, 5.2 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's how teams are playing him, right? They're playing, split safety.
I think he's getting used to
Drop it
some
at.
new guys, and
I think Rice and Worthy have hit some big plays, and people are adjusting.
Yeah.
I mean, Rice is off to a great
Juju.
Yeah,
start.
Rice has been great.
Don't
It's
forget
almost- it's almost
Juju.
like someone knew
Kansas
that.
He's
City
out there.
championship team.
Touchdown, bro.
They're figuring
Tutty.
out how to win.
The Chiefs they
Yeah.
played football exactly like the Patriots used to play football. Where
Getting
it's-
all the calls.
Where it's
Well, I have a question. I have a question.
couldn't resist.
I have a question for all the Chiefs haters, right?
Yeah.
So, was that pass interference on the Chiefs? Should that have been called in the end zone?
I think that was a pass.
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty clearly. I don't know. That's just me. I think it was pretty clearly they interfered with Kyle Pitts in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Like
sure
last
that
week.
I'm sure all the people that don't believe in pass interference think that wasn't pass interference, because that's what I heard the week before when the Chiefs got the call that week
Right.
too, right?
Right.
Well, how can you call pass interference? It's incidental contact. No, it's pass interference. It should have been called last week against Cincinnati, and it should have been called on Kansas City this week. That was blatant pass interference in the end zone. And that changes the whole game. The Falcons probably score. They take the lead under 5 minutes to go, and my pick would have been right.
on a serious note, though,
all
not
comes
being
back to your picks.
snarky about the refs. No offense.
The refs are terrible.
They have their games, Kansas City, where they're just dominant and they roll. But these games that are close, it's like they do just enough
Yep.
on both sides of the ball
It's
to win the
uncanny
game.
how
Yeah.
similar it is to the
Yeah,
Patriots.
and it's like, how many games did the Patriots just squeak by because they made one or two more plays at the end
They're just
than the
looking
other
at
team, and it's
Conference
like I'm
championship,
watching,
right? They're just like conference championship.
Yeah,
What is
it's
it? Week
crazy.
5? Like,
Well,
what's
good
going on?
offense will force you into mistakes, and mistakes
They-
include penalties. like the Patriots used to
It was
do.
Kansas City that should have got called for the penalty.
Either way.
They interfered.
Will in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, he's looking for some silver linings. Paul, please don't yell at me. Any chance
No
Bourne
yelling.
and Taki can give us a bit of a boost? Also, who is our best player to be next to Godshaw on early downs to stop the run?
I got thoughts. I mean, I think kind of done with Osborne. Like, I don't really see it with Osborne. I think Kendrick Bourne's an easy slide him in.
It's a great question. Who
to
goes?
that guy? And Taki, I wish I could say I'm excited, but I just think he's kind of more the same of kind of more a special teams guy, not a big dog inside. So I have limited expectations. His depth will help, but I don't know if he's any bit better.
Bourne should help if he's
Yep.
healthy enough to help. He will. Who goes? Do you think they would release Osborne, or do you think that they would
Keyshawn Booty.
take Booty or Baker and put him on the practice squad?
Bye-bye,
Keyshawn
Booty.
Booty, I think. I think Baker's somebody will claim Baker.
Yeah.
I think Keyshawn Booty to the practice squad, but Bourne definitely should help. He's their best receiver on paper. Like
Yeah.
if he's healthy and he's 100%, he's their best receiver. He's definitely an upgrade over Osborne
agree.
and Thornton.
And I'm with the emailer. I think he
Yeah.
will help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say he's a savior, but he's going to help, I would say. And then Taki, I think there's a chance he's back for Week 5. Sounds like he's trending in the right direction, so maybe he plays.
I'll take him. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
when he first signed, we looked a little bit at him, playing some defense.
Yeah,
so he can do it a little bit.
He's more of a passing downs
Yeah,
player.
he's a Mac Wilson type. I think he's
Yeah.
better than Mac Wilson, but we'll see.
He,
I think kind of what you want is a big, heavy kind of dude that can play the run, and I just
and
think that's
ideally
where Bentley's
keep
underrated.
Tavai because I thought Tavai was sort of an underrated jack of all trades kind of guy who could do some things.
Kind
And
of
he
like a
has freedom.
Ninkovich.
And I think
Yeah.
with that Bentley role, I'm not sure he's suited for that. And I wonder if they rethink that and maybe go in a different direction. And
Where's a Landon
I don't
Roberts
know.
these
Yeah,
days?
right?
Maybe
Like,
we could throw a
that's- I know.
draft pick to.
he's still playing.
It's
I think he's in
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
I mean, it's not a bad kind of area to think about.
Yeah.
But
Because I agree totally with Tavai. He is definitely much better playing the weak side and just being able to see ball, get ball
Space.
over there, and not have to worry so much about structurally being sound and
deceptively
taking on blocks
athletic
and-
too in space, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's much better as a Robin than the Batman.
But it's like getting through traffic and defeating guys and anticipating
Right.
and getting there early. It's not really his game.
Kelly in Salt Lake, the idea that the Patriots need to force Drake into the game because Jaden had a good game, it's regurgitated BS. Everyone who watched that game watched Daniels have time in the pocket. On Thursday night against the Jets D,
You watched a different game than I did then.
On Thursday night against the Jets D, missing both starting defensive ends, the Patriots gave up pressure on over 50% of their plays. Everyone knows experience makes you better, but being under fire on every passing play is not going to help develop any quarterback. Daniels is also 24 and played 5 times as much college football as Drake. He should be farther along.
Yeah, I don't know who he's arguing with, the emailer, because I don't know who said that because Jaden Daniels played well, you have to play Drake Maye.
I'm sure that is a popular opinion today.
So I don't know who that argument is with, and I would agree with the emailer's premise on that. Daniels should have nothing to do with your decision on Maye. I would just counter with Washington's offensive line is terrible. I watched a good chunk of the game last night. I watched a lot of their game against Tampa in week 1, and he got killed. He was forced to run the whole game because he was under attack. So don't tell me that he has all day to throw. I don't care what numbers say. He doesn't have all day to throw. That's a bad offensive line. Maybe it's not as bad as this one. Certainly not as bad as this one played last Thursday night. But let's not confuse them for being, this solid offensive line.
Yeah, I guess that's the only place that I would come with it in response is just Jaden Daniels is playing behind, let's call it a below average offensive line, maybe not a terrible offensive line, but not a good one. And he's not broken. Like he's fine. He gets hit and he gets back up. And we go back out there, and he plays the next play.
He even learned how to slide. He slid last night.
Yeah.
You see that play?
Last play or last throw of the game, he gets cover 0. He has a free runner that blows him up, and he's talking to Pam Oliver after the game as the player of the game. Like, he's fine. Like, he got hit,
that was
but
the
he's
play I
okay.
was thinking of when he's got all day to throw in the pocket. That was an unbelievable throw with a guy right in his grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. time to take a break. My food's here. When we come back, we'll get to more of your calls and emails on Patriots Unfiltered. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Good afternoon. Oh, quiet crowd. Good afternoon. So, thanks. This morning had a good meeting with the team. Kind of recapped the last 3 games and level set on expectations, and just told those guys, just like always, that we have to continue to get better. Tried to put some things into perspective. You have a team that's picked to win the Super Bowl, gets blown out the next week. Like right now, it's about who can get better the quickest, and that's just what we have to do. We have to get back to the fundamentals when we talk about tackling and running, and being able to move the ball, and also takeaway is definitely a huge part of it. But guys are ready to work. They're excited. And today it's all about NEP. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It has everything to do with, self-scout and really just working on things that continue to show up on a game-after-game basis.
Do you feel like you guys are still searching for your identity as to what kind of team you are?
I think that, I don't want to jump to conclusions, because after we controlled the line of scrimmage throughout the preseason and also controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, the first 2 games, and then to sit here and overreact on the 3rd game and controlling the line of scrimmage, I don't want to do that. I still think we have a tough physical football team, and that's my expectation, and that's also their expectation, is to go out there and establish your toughness. And then in the 4th quarter, hopefully you have a chance to win.
You mentioned resetting expectations at team meeting today. One, why is that important to you? And B, what were the expectations that were reset?
Well, that's a good question. And maybe I misspoke in saying resetting expectations, but just reminding them of what we said all the way back in the spring on what type of team that we want to be. And, went in on a short week and didn't perform the way we wanted to, but it was more of a reminder. I probably should have said it that way, a reminder of what we said we were and how we have to play winning football.
Coach said that today's going to be all about NDP. Does that mean you guys won't be preparing for the 49ers in practice?
No, we'll sprinkle a little bit in there in the 49ers, but once again, it's about us, and this is a bonus day for us. The players are off tomorrow, and then it's a normal week. Well, normal-ish. We leave on Friday. But it's just about the things that continue to show up day after day, game after game.
What's the conversation like with the offensive line in the week of a game like that? You did say, control the line of scrimmage the first 2 games. Yeah. You talked a little bit today about how the pass protection struggled.
Yeah, it's a very upfront conversation, and I have the relationship, and so do the coaches have the relationship with those guys, where you can be very transparent and open. Like this isn't good enough. I showed on one of my slides this morning was just a picture of a mirror, and this is our jobs as coaches, is to put the mirror in front of the player's face and remind them like what it really is. It's not about your mom or your brother or your cousins telling you it's not your fault. It's all of our fault, and once again, it starts with me.
You mentioned the importance of turnovers. I know Kyle Duggar mentioned in summer the emphasis on punching the ball on every play. Have you seen that same type of effort, and what can you do to start getting those turnovers?
Yeah, we've definitely seen that same effort. I would say as a player, no matter what level you're at, turnovers come in bunches. That's how it happens. You get one, and then all of a sudden, you're getting 3 here, 4 here, but they definitely come in bunches. And my reminder to those guys is just keep attacking the ball, and they'll come.
On the flip side of that, do you have a philosophy on the offensive side about how you handle fumbling?
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it. Look, it's no secret that Dre's fumbled the ball 3 times in 3 games, and now you become a target. And every single team, not just for Ramondre, but for everyone who handles the ball, like we're all going to be targets until we can show that we can protect the ball. So he'll be out there today, hopefully moving around a little bit, and we'll see how he responds the next day.
You said pregame last week that Kendrick Bourne is making good progress.
Yeah, he's making great progress, and he's running fast. He looks good in his routes. We'll just, when he's ready to be out there, he'll be out there.
So if he's healthy, would you expect him to slide back again as the starting left guard, or could Michael Jordan keep that spot?
I'm not sure. We'll just have to once again, it's still early in the season, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Can you provide any update on the Jerod Mayo? Do you expect him to be out there, and also his kind of status on this?
Lo, it's interesting. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup all the way back in the summer. We'll just, when we say we'll work these guys out in individuals, like all that stuff is good, but you have to see how they present the next day. I wish I could sit here and give you a timeline, but I can't on that player. I do. He'll be out there. I'm not sure just how much he'll do.
Jerod, on the radio this morning, when you were talking about the pass pro issues, I think you said the biggest one right now is just seeing everything through the same set of eyes. Is there a way that you can simplify protections for those guys, or is it really they just need to figure it out at this point?
It's more about reps, and I feel that the protections that we run. A lot of teams run the same protection, and what I showed them this morning, anytime you have a free runner through the A or the B gap, it gives the quarterback no chance, and we have to be inside out in all of our protections. And if the quarterback can see, an edge defender, being the free player, then he can most of the time make everyone else right. But that hasn't been the case here.
I know you had an early B-gap pressure they got through, but I think most of the unblocked ones against the Jets were nickel, safety, and then a couple edge rushers on those boots. That seems to be problematic as well. Is there one solution, a couple solutions for that?
Well, just the boot play in particular. Sometimes you have protected boots, and sometimes you have unprotected boots. And what I will say is, you're anticipating a player to do one thing, and sometimes they change that up, and it goes back to those tendency breakers, those guys, all the other teams, they self-scout as well. So we just have to get better as a whole. Our screen game has to get better. We have to continue to run the ball, and also, the intermediate passing. Got to do a better job with that.
I think people would be curious, the tone you try to set as a head coach after a game like that one. How would you describe it? Is it patience? Is it urgency? How do you try to convey the message?
Yeah, I always tell the guys, win, lose, or draw, we have to be ready to change the page. And the NFL, especially early in the season, is so up and down, and no one really knows who's good, who's bad. Even when the schedule releases come out, just because you were good the past year doesn't mean you're going to be good this year. And same thing, just because you were bad last year doesn't mean you're going to be bad this year. And so, for me, it's always been about just changing the page and moving on to the next one. And this is why, we always talk about, especially at the quarterback position, not getting too high or getting too low. Let's try to, handle winning and handle losses, the right way and learn from those mistakes.
When it comes to containing quarterbacks in the pocket, with defensively, do you feel like that has been an issue because of scheme-related stuff or more discipline stuff?
I think it's a combination of the two. And we as a whole, we just have to do a better job keeping the quarterback in the pocket. That was one of the last reminders, even with Rodgers, is let's keep this guy in the pocket. And, he just had free roam too many times, and we'll get that corrected.
And now, great moments in history.
Ash is in Bristol. I don't know Bristol, Rhode Island, or Bristol, UK. I'm not sure.
I'm assuming it's UK.
Why are you assuming that?
Because Ashley is a common name over there, so
it's not common here
for a male. No.
How do you know it's a male?
I'm guessing because he's written in before and said it's Ash.
Oh, okay. So you know him. You know the person. Why didn't you just say that?
Oh my God! You always have to make things so difficult.
No, you did. Say, I know who it is. That's all you had to say.
Derek, I was with you before. I have to be with Pop now. I'm with Pop. Fred's right on this one. All you had to say was, he calls in all the time. I know him. And it would have been over.
No,
instead you had to go with, because there's a common saying in your
I do believe
team, a little bit more about the entomology, the whole thing, and all you had to say was, Ashley writes in all the time. It's a guy. Even Fred would have dropped it. Now I'm with you, Pop.
Anyway.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace ticket. Oh, sorry, my first mistake. It's the TPX hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. John in Louisiana says he wants to stick up for the defense.
Okay.
He says it's crazy to hear the defense get sticks and stones thrown at them this early. To me, what's hurting the defense is our own offense. I don't know the exact number, but the time of possession is that in the last two games have been ridiculously lopsided. Coming off an overtime game, then being on the field as much as they did against that level of quarterback Thursday night isn't ideal. Paul, go is on me, please and thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know what that
I'll
means.
pull it up, but first two games the Patriots dominated.
Time possession in the first two games.
Correct. It was last week. It was obvious because they threw the ball 3 and out for the first 5 drives of the game.
No, I'll give you the reason why they got dominated in time of possession last week, because they couldn't get off the field. And the Jets just had scoring drives that took 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. That has nothing to do with your offense. Yeah. When you come out and they drive all the way down the field, then they get a penalty and don't score in the first drive. Then they drive all the way down the field, touchdown, all the way down the field, touchdown. That's not just because of your offense being bad. That was bad defense.
Yeah.
So in the first 2 weeks of the season, the Patriots were 5th in the league in time of possession, like in the good direction, possessing the ball almost 34 minutes a game in the first 2 weeks of the season. Obviously, last week was the opposite, but first 2 weeks they possessed the ball.
Those games unfolded the way they needed them to. You know, they got the lead, they were in it, you know, and it unfolds well. But I think you're seeing with the defense now, it's the same thing with the offense. When they're up against it, can they make the big play to counteract a turnover, or can the defense make a big stop? And I don't think they were clutch. They were missing tackles. Rodgers had all day. They let him get outside the pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a number of issues.
And just so you know, I'm talking about the defense, not every game. I'm not telling you that they can't get better. I was just a little surprised that they started the game so poorly and never really improved. Usually when that happens, there's adjustments that get made. And, the other team came up with a good
first drive.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I just wish I could sell myself on who are the guys that are going to emerge, or guys that we haven't seen anything out of. Like everybody that we're playing on defense, you kind of know what they are right now. I mean, Keon White is an example, and Gonzalez of two guys that we don't truly know how good they're going to be yet. There's some potential there, but it's just hard to say. Where's the pass rush coming from in week 13? I don't see the horses here. I mean, maybe this guy Jamry Chroma.
No.
Is that how you say? That's what they're turning over right now. So I think we kind of buried our heads in the sand on the defense in this offseason.
That week one was a little bit fool's gold, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I still think they're okay when they play, all together and they're on. But it's just when they're not, they're going to be really bad because they don't really have those talent guys that offset.
They're 28th in the league in DVOA on defense. 28th. The Patriots. That blows my mind. Yeah. Even when it got bad with Bill, it was still top 10, top 15.
Yeah, it's 2011 kind of numbers.
Yeah.
But, and this is just my point, it could. I'm not telling you that this is what it is and it will always be this way the rest of the year. Forget about it. But they gave up well over 600 yards passing the last 2 games combined. So it's not just this one-off. They dominated Cincinnati in the opener and have been thoroughly average or worse in the other 2 games. They were really, really good against the run against Seattle, so they were able to make it all one-dimensional. They didn't stop anything against the Jets. No. Braylon Allen looked pretty good against in that game too.
Yep. They're also getting shredded. They've been playing a lot more cover 2 this year than in years past, and they've been getting absolutely diced up in their cover 2 zones. Because I don't know. There's probably a million reasons why for that. The biggest one being teams that play a lot of zone get home with 4 rushers, and the Patriots aren't one of those teams that has a defensive line that dominates like that. But they've been trying to sprinkle that in a lot more on early downs, and they've just been getting lit up.
855-PASS-500 is the TPX hotline. Let's get to some of these calls. Eldred's in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred?
Hey, fellas.
I missed
how y'all
that.
doing?
Hello.
All right.
I'm doing fine, too. I just got it's a talent disparity against us. That's what that is. Jets you know, if I don't want to admit, they got a better roster than what we got.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no
They
doubt.
have the
By
last
far.
couple years.
We said that in the beginning of the season. If
they
Rodgers,
have-
yeah.
We-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We said if Rodgers is Rodgers this year, they're going to be a handful. They're going to have a possibility to win the AFC East. That's how good their roster is.
Exactly. But I'm just, you know, I was killing Bill, but if Ron Wolf with him with Bill, he's still drafting the same way. And I'm just going to sit back and just enjoy this season and just hope, you know, they put up a better fight than they did Thursday night. And that's all I got, fellas.
Okay,
Y'all have a
thanks,
good one.
Eldred. Appreciate the call.
Thanks, E.
I mean, that's kind of like, if you're being realistic, that's a good attitude. Just sit back and watch the games, understand where we're coming from, where we need to go. It's a long way. This is, you know, part one of a new journey with a new coaching staff and a new quarterback. And, you know,
Well, it's a big part of the reason why I want to see Drake Maye.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that. Because that would improve, you know, like.
Right.
If I were, you know, look, I don't think Denver's going anywhere. Okay. And I'm not sold at all on Bo Nix. But they are. Sean Payton obviously believes in them, and you've seen a little bit of a progression.
Yep.
To the point where he played really well in this most recent game. Like, that's something to me, even if I'm going to finish 6-11 or whatever.
How did he make that progression? How do you think? Oh, by playing. Oh,
Fred's doing it now.
The snark police.
You pulled it from Evan's Twitter last night.
snark
Oh,
police.
I poked the hornet's nest with that one. I knew what I was doing.
Did they get mad at you?
I dropped the bomb and walked
Yeah.
away on that.
But yeah, and again, I'm not. Please don't take this as being critical of Mayo and Van Pelt for being patient with Maye. I'm not. That you have an idea of what you have a lot more information than we do.
Right.
But I'm just saying, to watch, I think people can get behind watching, you know, a 5 or 6 win team more so than maybe even a 7-win team or an 8-win team with different quarterbacks. I think there's a little bit more. Mike's point. Mike finds a way to get, you know, sort of enthused and excited about a lot of different stuff, and he's right. Like, you know, can we get Jalen Polk involved? You know, can Demario Douglas be involved? You know, these are the young guys that are part of Layden Robinson starting at guard. That's great. You know, maybe Caden Wallace can move over to the right side and maybe not look as overwhelmed as he did on the left side, and you feel a little bit better about some of those young guys.
Yep.
That's, to me,
Yeah.
stuff to get excited about, like Eldred said.
I think that's good stuff. I just, real quick, was like, that people don't know who this next team's going to be. And so at least if Drake Maye is in there, you know he's going to be part of what's next. And so you don't feel like you're just watching a lame duck Patriots team where Polk hasn't really been productive. The rookie offensive linemen have been under siege and gotten a lot of criticism. You know, there's not a lot of those things to hang your hat on right now if you're a Patriots fan looking to the future. So I totally agree with, like, if Maye were to get in there, there'd be a new energy of, all right, even if we're going to get our teeth kicked in, we're going to do it with this kid, and we're going to make the
by
best
far and
of
away,
it.
the most enjoyable aspect of the season was the last 4 minutes of the game when he played.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
Well, week one was pretty enjoyable.
Okay.
Well, but that to me is like
It was.
It was a tractor pull.
Week one, it was the most enjoyable tractor pull.
Okay.
Yeah.
That to
You
me
like
is the
that.
whole
I mean,
main
I-
argument.
I like winning.
I like winning too, but I like winning with some, you know,
Style
entertainment
points.
value.
Style points.
I just don't
No,
feel like they're-
entertainment.
No, but I realized the team that we had, and like if that wasn't a surprise to me that's how we had to win a game.
I didn't say it was a surprise. It was boring.
Okay.
That's all.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Evan.
no, it's okay. I just think the biggest thing, that's my biggest argument for Maye, is just you're not building towards anything offensively with this group of personnel. Like with Jacoby and with the way that they're trying to run the offense with Jacoby, and like there's no, you know, Mayo talked at the beginning of the year and he was realistic. He said, I wish I could come up here and tell you that we're going to make the playoffs and be a contender, but we're not. And he said, this year is all about laying a foundation. Like this, to me, right now feels like a lost season. Like we're heading towards lost season.
No, that's a good point, Evan, and kind of boiling my blood as I'm listening to you, because
Fred?
if the offense that they're running right now with Jacoby Brissett is going to be different than the offense that they run with Drake Maye, then what the hell are we doing? You're not doing a service to anyone. You're not doing a service to the linemen, to the receivers who might be part of the future. If we're going to now shift our offense to a Drake May offense when he comes in, then I got a real problem with that. And then if they're not, then
why not?
Why not?
Right. Well, we're going to end the season with more questions than answers.
Right.
Because we're not going to know what Jalen Polk is. We're not going to know what Javon Baker is. We're not going to know what the rookie linemen are because the quarterback and the play calling stinks.
And it's limited.
So like you're just not going to learn anything about the team.
I got to make a call.
I wish you could. It's been driving me nuts since Thursday. Yeah. It's just like there's no direction with the offense right now. They are directionless on offense, and at least if Drake Mayo was playing, that by the end of the season, going into 2025, where you're probably going to have another high draft pick, a boatload of cap space, like at least you know where your holes are. Like what if Caden Wallace can play right tackle? And then all you need is a left tackle, and you don't need both tackles. What if Jalen Polk is a good receiver? And we just haven't seen it because they're not getting him the football. Yeah. Like, I don't have any answers right now of where this team is going.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, maybe I'm just getting upset for no reason, but, like, if you're not running plays now with Jacoby that Drake May's going to run, what is Drake May looking at? How do you learn from watching if you're not even watching the type of plays I'm going to run? So even if Jacoby couldn't do them, at least Drake May could say, okay, I can see where this play went wrong, for whatever reason. But now, and I might be getting upset for no reason. Maybe I'm totally off here. Maybe this is the offense that they will run when Drake May comes in.
Well, you're making me upset, Fred, because I'm thinking of 2020 again. I think it's the second time I brought that year up. But, what did you take from that year?
Right.
What did you take from Cam Newton?
Goes
back
to after
Paul.
last year, you're two lost years in a row. You're literally 2 lost years in a row. And then if you go into 2025 without having any of these answers, then he's a redshirt rookie at that point. So it's really that's his rookie season essentially too. So now we're really not talking about them really knowing who they are until 2026.
I'm just looking at Fred's.
Paul's, the voice of reason, Paul. Step in, please.
I never want to be confused with that. It's 3 games, and some of these things, we're sort of extrapolating because they're concerns. You know me, I get concerned about a lot of stuff. Before this is one of the reasons why I wasn't on board with re-signing everybody. Everybody gets a contract because not everybody is going to be part of the future. And I know that for the most part, most of those guys they re-signed are young enough to still be here when this team is theoretically ready to. So I'm not telling you these are all terrible moves. They weren't. This was part of my reasoning. Like, you sign some guys that are going to play, and do they prevent other guys that are younger and maybe have some potential? I'm not giving you any specifics. I'm just saying off the top of my head.
You're talking about defense or offense?
Everything.
Because they didn't really re-sign a lot of guys on offense, did they?
Hunter Henry and Bourne.
Yeah, Henry. And Bourne's not even playing now.
Yeah,
I mean he's not holding anyone back.
Yeah, I just said specifically.
But I'm worried about the offense right now.
I'm more worried about the defense because the offense is not fixable under its current state.
I know, but my boiling blood right now has to do with the offense.
The offense to me is all about Drake May.
Right.
So that I don't really care that the offense doesn't look good with Jacoby Brissett playing. You know what I mean? Not caring is strong.
I know what you mean.
But this is all kind of irrelevant for the big picture.
It isn't
Defense
to me, though.
Is kind of
it isn't irrelevant
average.
to the
but
big
what
picture.
about, again, there's other guys on this offense besides Drake May, and they have to be getting ready for the future as well.
It's not irrelevant. Like, if Jalen Polk has a lost rookie season, then...
Don't take it super literally.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but, to me, it's a big deal.
Do you think Jalen Polk can play?
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
I think he's Jacoby Myers. Yes.
So it's okay then. But I don't know. You see some potential there.
But I don't know because no one's getting him the football, so I don't know. I don't know what he does at the catch point when he has to, box somebody out. I don't know what he does with the ball in his hands because he never has the ball in his hands.
That's all fair.
I don't know. If you could give me on the offensive line, give me Wallace, Onwenu, Andrews, whichever left guard you want to pick from the young guys, and Lowe at left tackle, because that way when Will Campbell gets drafted at left tackle, we still have 4/5 of the line in place for next year.
Well, you can't blame. That's the lot. Injury has a lot to do with it.
A little bit. It's really just low.
Is Robinson played right guard every game?
Yes.
Yeah. All 3, right? Yeah. So it's been Jordan, Andrews, Robinson, Onwenu.
Yeah, but Michael Jordan only because of injury.
But all four of those guys, I think he's better than City Cell.
Okay.
But whatever.
How do you, I don't know about that, but all right.
Those four guys have played all 3 games, right?
Yeah, you just had different left
Each
tackles.
had a different left tackle.
But 2 of those guys are not in the spots that I want them to be in.
No, I totally agree.
Like Jordan shouldn't be.
Onwenu should be playing guard.
Jordan should be a backup, and Onwenu should be playing guard.
Yeah.
So like I can handle losing. What I can't handle is building towards nothingness, which is what's happening on the offensive side of the ball right now. They are not building any sort of momentum.
Yeah, I just think you took me super literally.
No, I know.
I agree with all the points that you're making. I'm just
when you
saying,
talk about
like,
laying a foundation of what?
Yeah.
The offense to me is all about Drake May's development, and we might not be able to see any of that this year. I'm accepting that.
I hope
I didn't mean to take you.
I know.
You know what I mean.
I know you want to win. I know the ultimate goal is to win, but I hope in our situation the coaches aren't under undue pressure to win football games right now. Right now, the pressure should be to build this team for the future. That should be the pressure.
Well, but you can make the argument that the best way to help build for the future is to win games and win as many games as you can and establish a positive culture.
I know, but again, if the offense that they're running right now is not the offense that they'll be running when Drake May's
that's a different argument.
Yeah, that's what I'm. That's
why
what got my blood
But that's
boiling.
what I know. That's what
Yeah.
got you on the phone. But that's
Yeah.
what people that were critical of the hire in the first place were critical of.
Yeah.
Does that offensive system best suit Drake May's skill set?
Right.
I think it can. They want to run a bulk of the offense from under center. We know that. I don't know right now if they trust Drake May to run it from under center because his footwork and stuff like that is raw because he never did it. Never did it at North Carolina. I don't know the answers to that. All I know is I watch Washington last night, and I keep going back to them just because they're the most recent team I watched.
And it was a pretty impressive performance.
But they're running, they're talking all over the broadcast about how Cliff Kingsbury told them in their production meeting that they're running a college offense. They're running the LSU offense for Jaden Daniels, and he's in the gun all the time, and he's out there, and sometimes he has to run around, and sometimes he takes some hits, and sometimes he's got to be in the option game and the run game and take some hits, and he's getting progressively better. He's getting better throwing to the middle of the field. He's getting better running and throwing on the move, and so he doesn't take as many hits. Like, he's improving, and I just look at that, and I'm like, even if Washington ends this year with 5 wins, you can come away from the season saying, well, we got our quarterback and we know what he's good at and we know how to build around him and we're going to keep stacking pieces around the quarterback and we're in good shape. The Patriots with Brissett right now are just a rudderless boat on offense because they're just not laying any sort of foundation of what they're going to be in the future. And at some point, it's only week 3, we're going into week 4, but it goes fast. Like, at some point they have to pick a spot for Drake May to play. Because right now, what they're doing on offense just isn't NFL
A lot of people
caliber.
are saying it's the Miami game.
Next week?
Home game against Miami. No Tua. I
don't really understand what Tua has to do with anything.
Well, the score might stay low, so it'll be.
But who cares what the score is? Do you think he's ready to play or not?
You don't lose hope. It's just like a manageable game.
I don't get that.
He doesn't have to play from behind.
Tua's not going to rip his soul out in front
The
of
not play from behind thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because the offensive line, when you play from behind, that's a big part of
Right.
why the pressure rate was
It's just
so high.
a more
against the
manageable
Jets.
game.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
I agree
Let's
with you
put him
on
in the
whole,
easiest
but-
situation we can possibly see, so that way we get a good read on what he is.
Well, no.
I don't know what happened. All right, let's play it out. Let's play it out.
Okay.
So they play him against Skylar Thompson or the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL, bar none, Tim Boyle.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they win the game.
Yep.
Does he not play the next game when they play a good team?
No, of course not.
So what are we doing?
But at least his
he's either
his
ready or he's
debut
not.
is just.
Wait. You're putting him in to bench him again?
No,
that's what I'm saying. He's playing the next game, so what's the difference?
Yeah.
That's
Paul's saying if the next game is against a tough team.
If you think he's
what's the
ready, then
point?
play him against Miami.
the-
If you think he's ready now, play him Sunday in San Francisco.
I wouldn't play him against San Francisco, just because it's a road game against a mad San Francisco team that's a lot better than you. So I wouldn't feed him to the wolves in San Francisco. But once he plays, he plays. Like, he's playing. Like, we're not going back.
I totally agree.
Please, no.
Unless he plays so poorly that you have to take him out. But that's no. I want once he gets in, I want to play him.
That's it. The Drake May era begins. That's it. All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Good discussion. Let's go to Christian in Virginia. What's up, Christian?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
I gotta say, guys, I'm feeling a little defeated with this last game, and watching the games on Monday, I just want a real wide receiver. And I was doing a little research before I called in, and one thing I noticed, living in Virginia, everyone's got Scary Terry uniforms, and he went crazy last night. He's a third round draft pick, and I think we can. Maybe it's hopeful thinking, but I just wish we could get a guy like that. My question for you guys is, are you guys seeing, this is like kind of different, but are you seeing any improvement towards our like NFL PA score? Because, we got an F- last year, and I'm wondering if ownership is doing anything to help that to get people coming in next offseason.
Yeah, that's a good question, Christian. I think the answer is yes. They have done a lot of things with like player families and that type of stuff. I know there are plans to build a whole new football facility a couple years down the road. That's not helping them this year, but it is something that they can sell for the future to an incoming free agent. But yeah, they took that seriously, and I think they're making a lot of improvements.
But that said, only the players can answer it.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's visible things that
but I'm saying they could do them, and the players might think that they're unbelievably good or useless.
No, I know.
You spent money, but that's not what we needed.
Yeah.
That's not helping us.
I would also just say, like, not to defend anything with the organization, but the free agents are not signing here because of the player NFLPA survey. Okay, like if you give the players the guaranteed money that they want in free agency, they'll come here, regardless of if they're taking care of their kids on game day or not.
No, I know, but when everything's even, sometimes income tax, weather, dome or not, facilities do.
I would
play
say
a factor.
Income tax and location are the only other things that are big factors in free agent decisions. Like, and it just. I think that story got overblown. Is the only reason why I say that.
I think if you extrapolate from that survey, what Evan's talking about, personnel decisions, I agree that's overblown. I don't think that's overblown in terms of how players feel about their facilities.
Listen.
And the perfect example of Evan's point is Kansas City was behind the Patriots in that.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be hurting their ability to acquire players.
Right.
Or win games.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, it has nothing to do with acquiring talent, is my point.
Okay.
It might have something to do with keeping your talent. Maybe someone who's a pending free agent might say, well, I have X to stay here and X to go somewhere else. Somewhere else ranked a lot higher in those, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the Scary Terry point, I was thinking about this last night.
He's a great player.
So he's a third-round pick, and he's obviously an awesome player. He was a third-round pick. He went to Ohio State. He was buried on the depth chart at Ohio State and didn't get a lot of opportunities in college. I believe there'll be less Scary Terrys because the transfer portal is now going to allow Terry McLaurin.
You don't have to stay on the bench.
You don't have to stay at Ohio State anymore.
Right.
So players like Terry McLaurin are now transferring out of Ohio State.
It's a good point.
And going play other places, and now all of a sudden that player is popping in another school.
But that's good for the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
So you get a better look at players.
You know who was really high on Scary Terry coming out in that draft?
Eric Scalabino?
No, think about someone who talks incessantly about wide receivers.
Eldred loved him some
he
Terry
knew what
McLaurin.
he was talking about.
I remember
give him that
his
one.
gunner tape was a big deal because getting off the line of scrimmage and releasing and stuff like that's translatable.
I'm stunned Bill didn't get him then.
Yeah. He was a really good gunner.
I don't know if Brian's
doing all right.
Yeah, he is.
Brian Thomas looked pretty good to me last night. Just the way he's moving. I don't
Unlike
know if he had
most
any
of you
production.
guys, he was a good prospect.
It's for LSU, right? Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Brian
Thomas,
the other
he was the
LSU
other guy
guy.
with your boy Nabbers.
Yeah,
who's
he looked
just
pretty
a
good.
machine.
Yeah. It's the same thing though. I said though, like watching him last night, I'm like, this doesn't look like the guy I remember watching last spring. Like it, until I see them on a field in an NFL game, I don't feel like you truly, because he looks like, I know he was fast, but I don't know.
Did you see like the touchdown he caught in week 1 where he's on the back line of the end zone and just so effortlessly, like toe taps, catches it smooth. Like he's done it all his life, which I'm sure he has.
Yeah. Those guys
TPX hotline, Patty's in Agawam. Hey, Patty.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
Patty.
Yeah, I'm in much better shape than I was on Thursday night, Polly. And
that was good.
Yeah, you didn't sound good.
Oh, did you? Were you listening?
I listened. Yeah.
Did a wellness check on
I
you.
got to disagree with you on one thing, too. Tim Boyle is not the worst quarterback in the history of the league. We had the worst quarterback. He wore number 12, and his name was Jeff Carlson back in '92. I don't know if you remember him, but he was terrible.
I'll bet you Jeff Carlson was a better college quarterback than Tim Boyle was.
Oh, yeah, probably. But it's all semantics. Couple questions. The first one, real easy one. Do you think the offense looks a little bit better when Kendrick Bourne is healthy? Because at least there you'll have, with him and DeMario, a couple guys that can actually separate from one-on-one coverage. And do you think there's anybody at the left tackle scrap heap that we can get on this team so we're not playing guys out of position? Like I'm willing to live with for Darian Lowe for the rest of the season, left tackle, if he stays healthy. But I would like Evan said, like Barth had said, I mean, Caden Wallace is the right tackle. Put him at right tackle, see if he can grow, and just be done with that. And hopefully, we suck bad enough that we can get one of these top two tackles, Banks or the kid. I'm blanking on the kid from LSU's name. But that's it.
Campbell.
I'll take it off here. Thanks,
Oh,
guys.
Freddie all over it. Left tackle scrap heap.
I
Would you
mean,
guys
we've
be
been through
opposed
all
to
of
one
it.
of those at this
No.
point?
No.
Like Donovan Smith
I'm
or David
surprised-
Bakhtiari?
I'm surprised they haven't called Donovan Smith, and I wonder if they have. And he was like, "Why would
No,
I
thanks.
go play there?" Like if he gets called by Kansas City because they're trying out Sue Mattia and Wanya Morris, and it hasn't been great with either one of those guys. Maybe they call back, around Thanksgiving and are like, "Why don't you come play the end of the year with us?" Then maybe he would. But that I look at those guys, Humphreys, Leno. Why would they come play for a 4 or 5 win football team unless the Patriots
They give money.
overpay
Right.
a ton?
You're going to have to pay.
Which I don't think makes sense for either side.
No, we've been through all those guys.
Thanks,
it's
Patty.
As for Bourne, I have
Bourne
high
will help.
hopes.
He'll help.
He'll help, but it's just hard to know what he's going to bring because they can't really execute in the passing game yet. I mean, last game was the
having
only
him
time
in
he
there
saw anybody.
over Osborne and Thornton I think will
Yeah.
be a pretty big upgrade.
Todd's in North Carolina. Hey, Todd.
Hey guys, just trying to find some positive stuff. Have you seen anything from Thornton or anybody else that you on the offensive side that you saw during the preseason that's kind of like, hey, they're doing something in the last 3 games? Maybe Polk or somebody? I'll take the answer off the air. Thanks, guys.
Who was the first guy he said?
Taekwon, I think.
No, I haven't seen.
Thornton?
I haven't seen anything offensively other than Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson breaking tackles.
Yeah.
Polk's had some moments on film where he's gotten open, but a lot of those are backside digs and things that he's so far away from the ball that it's tough to tell that if he was like the first read in the progression, if he would be as open as he really was, in those types of
I know we
plays,
haven't
but-
had a lot of, catches, but I haven't seen a lot of drops. Guys dropping the ball.
Gotta catch it.
That's,
There's that.
Gotta be targeted.
17 foul balls.
Yeah.
Paul might be mad at me for this one. Please don't get mad at me, Paul. But I will say,
I make no promises.
I will
actually.
say that Uche has some reps that look pretty good from time to time.
Are we ready? Are we ready for
You did
the
that on
Uche
purpose, didn't you?
conversation?
You did that
No,
on
he
purpose.
did though. He kind of did. Like,
I mean, he's an elite pass rusher according to
I know. Well, we
you
joke
guys.
like because me and Paul were really like joking around like about
The
like he's
metrics.
like PFF's top rated player. I'm like I don't know about that, but I thought he has he's an athletic guy. Like I mean he can move a little bit. It's just when there aren't other guys making plays too for that he can complementarily fill in with. He's kind of lost in those plays, and then he has plays where he, loses contain, and it's the
Can
same
we have?
kind of problems, but-
We might need to have a conversation about Uche, but it's a developing take.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm ready for it. yet.
Williams and Philum.
Need
What's
to
up,
see more.
William?
I think I know what you're thinking.
Hey.
How you doing, Fred?
All right.
Okay. Question for Paul. Can you just explain to me why is this? Well, how long is this rebuild going to take? We've been at this for a while now.
That's
it
my
seems like
question.
they just missing on players or whatever, and can't bring talent in and whatnot. Like, how long do you think this is going to take, Paul?
I think it's an impossible question to answer without knowing about Drake Maye. Like, if Drake Maye is your next franchise quarterback, I'm not telling you he's the next Tom
Let's
Brady.
say he's good.
I'm saying he's a good player. You can be good next year and really good in 2 years.
Yep.
It can happen that quickly.
Yep.
Like, they obviously have some holes to fill, but let's just say you come out of this rookie year thinking, okay, not a lot went right, but we got something with this quarterback. We got to shore up left tackle. We got to find a way to maybe get an alpha at wide receiver. Maybe we get some depth at corner. Going to have to address the defensive line. Maybe you're not going to be able to do all of that, much like we said this year, where you had to get a quarterback, you can't get everything. Maybe you can get Will Campbell, a good young cornerback to give you some depth at corner,
and then buy a wide
maybe
receiver.
a defensive lineman,
Yeah.
and then in 2 years, whatever you didn't fill that year, you can fill the next year.
Yeah.
You should be a playoff contender.
And it's, you're not going to hit on every one of your draft picks, but we're only talking about hitting on 30% of them each year.
But I'm just talking about, like, if you draft Will Campbell in the first round,
You're going to hit on him.
No. Yeah. Like,
Better.
did you just say you have to hit on him,
Yeah.
or you're going to hit on
No,
him?
you will hit on. If you draft a blue chipper like that, you'll hit on him.
If he works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blue chippers that get drafted in the top 10 that don't hit.
He will.
Like, if he ends up being
arm length.
If he ends up being
not Trevor Maddox.
like the left tackle of the future, and you pencil him in for 10 years as your left tackle, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a building block.
There's a really, February, the combine, Deuce.
I'm already excited.
Thanks, William.
I'm going to be up there with the tape measure for the arm length when he goes up to the podium. It's a big deal.
Offensive line Saturday, though.
Jim Nagy said 32 7/8,
Oh.
which I can live with.
That's
30 because they'll stretch him out. He'll get
sudden punch.
He'll get to 33 if
You don't have to worry
he
about the
needs
coaching
to.
Get him there.
But I've heard that it actually is
Strike
closer
system.
to 32 flat,
Ah,
and that
well,
worries
that's
me.
three-quarter inch is going to hurt you.
Can't strike air.
That's guard. That's guard
William
territory.
just hung up.
Chad writes in from Atlanta. I'm not going to lie and say I wouldn't be excited to see more Drake Maye this season. However, I would be lying if I said I thought he'd make enough of a difference to put him in prematurely. And it's not so much a fear of him getting injured, but rather me respecting what Tom Brady said about rookie quarterbacks needing time to learn and build confidence. So in times like this, I'll always defer to the experts. And if the greatest to ever do it says sitting rookie quarterbacks is what's best, then maybe we should listen.
Because he's a talent evaluator now.
No, I mean, that's a fair argument, but like the second best quarterback who's ever done it says the opposite. So who do you believe? Do you just go by Brady because he's better than Manning?
Yeah, and why can't you learn by playing?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that Tom Brady feels for him, watching and learning was the best way to go. For him.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you can just make a blanket statement that's perfect for everybody.
Well, especially when
some
his
guys can't learn
experience-
that way.
Right. His experience was coming in, and you had an established offense with an established quarterback that he had to learn. And now you have Jaden Daniels, who they're kind of tailoring the offense just to him, which, had someone done that for Tom, maybe it wouldn't have been as good as it was. But I have to imagine that would have worked for him.
I just, when you go down these rabbit holes of what's the best path, sitting, playing, it's so anecdotal, and every single situation is different. And for every Peyton Manning, there's a Jordan Love, and for every Aaron Rodgers, there's another guy, and it's just
Joe Burrow.
Right, Joe Burrow. Sure, we could just go.
Yeah.
There's no right way to do it.
No.
So that's what makes it even more confusing, is because if it was established that sitting was the way to go, and every single guy that sat, it worked out better for that player, then that would be one thing. But it just isn't.
Every team, we make fun of, especially me, I'm as snarky. We make fun of all of these guys, all the coaches, these dumb teams. But do you think every single team is just stupid and they just say it's the exact wrong thing to do, playing a young quarterback too soon, but we're going to do it anyway? Or do you think that they think their guy is ready?
Well, I wonder.
And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong.
Do you think some of those cases the owner puts pressure on them?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But again, there's enough guys. Everybody likes to talk about 21 when there was five quarterbacks taken in the first round, and right now you'd say they were 0 for 5 because Trevor Lawrence looks like a mess.
Right.
Right? So at best, you're going to say they're 1 for 5. But no one ever talks about the year before when 3 guys got taken in the top 6, and all by terrible teams. They all played really quickly, and they were all good.
Yeah.
Right? I don't. What year was that Burrow was? Was it 19 or 20? It was 20. It was the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So Burrow,
and Jordan
Tua,
Love and Jalen Hurts
and
too.
Herbert, all to bad teams, and all are pretty good. I'm not telling you they're all pros.
Right.
But they're all pretty good.
And all of them didn't get hurt by playing early.
Right, like mentally.
Right.
You know, obviously Burrow tore his ACL.
Got
but
literally hurt.
Tua. So.
You know, Tua didn't get concussions because he played too soon.
Right. Right.
Which, by the way, I saw some concussions over the weekend. Should all those guys retire? For the good of the game.
I don't know, Devontae
The
Smith.
NFL should step in. What an unbelievable cheap shot! Ruined my whole fantasy team.
Yeah.
No, he got suspended,
That's why
right?
he's mad.
That shot?
Yeah.
Did he?
Who's
no,
the guy?
Derwin James got
Derwin
suspended.
James.
Yeah, he got a
suspended.
letter.
Yeah.
He got sent to the principal's office there.
Yeah, Derwin James, I guess, is a repeat
The Chargers.
offender.
Yeah. Robin Bellingham, a lot of people are in the camp of sitting Maye, so he learns before going in. But if the current starting quarterback is unable to make quick decisions and is not getting the team into advantageous plays, then is there really any benefit to learning behind a seasoned vet? What is Jacoby doing right now that is guiding Maye's development? I appreciate that Jacoby is behind a bad line, but good quarterbacks can usually overcome a team's weaknesses, at least somewhat, and make plays.
Yeah, I mean, that's the drum I'm beating. Like, look, he was brought in here to not just mentor Drake Maye. He was also supposed to be a game manager, and I'm not expecting him to be anything more than that. But outside of not turning the ball over, he hasn't done anything else that is I would put in the game manager category. You know, he reading defenses and reading them quickly, hitting the layups, like not missing Austin Hooper when he's wide open down the field. You know, getting the team in and out of bad plays like that. Those are elements of game managing too that go beyond just, yes, he hasn't turned the ball over, but he's not doing any of the other things either. And so it just, to me, it just, like people that say, well, he hasn't done anything to lost the job. I disagree. I don't think he's played well. He's thrown for 100 yards last week. Like, I don't know at what point are we going to sit here and say he's literally just out there to be a sacrificial lamb. And is that fair to him? Yeah. Or in the rest of the team?
Yeah, I would just add, like, if you're in the camp of Maye needs to sit and learn, like, that's fine. And I sort of agree with it. I'm not up in arms that Maye's not playing. I haven't been from the start. But I also don't think that the only way to learn is by watching good quarterback play. Like, so everything that Evan just said about Brissett is probably accurate. He hasn't been great. But that doesn't mean that Maye can't learn from it. That doesn't mean they're not going into the meetings and saying, Jacoby, you got to reset the protection here so this runaway guy is accounted for. Or, Jacoby, here's your drop, here's your first read. It's there and you're late with the ball. You don't have to go out there and watch a guy play at a high level to learn.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, you learn by getting in the meeting room, getting in the film room, getting on the practice field. There's a lot of different ways to learn when you're not playing. It's not just by watching the guy play in front of you at a high level. That's not the only way to learn.
No, I think the thing that's intriguing for me that like a lot of the fans might not even realize is just how willing Drake Maye was to pull the trigger on deep passes, or some of these throws that you're seeing Jacoby miss. That, like, those are the things that kill me. Is the layups. Like, it's fine that he's not going to make the killer mistakes, but you can't miss the layups. Like, you can't miss the easy stuff.
No, I'm not. And that's a separate thing.
I know. I'm probably going into a separate area.
I would agree with
you. I
just
just
think
the intrigue with Maye is that he's going to make plays that Jacoby's missing right now too. Like, and that's something that even as a rookie who hasn't played.
But is he going to do that? Is he ready to do that? And I think that's what the coaches are asking.
Yeah.
Can he do that? I
think he's willing to take the chance.
We're not even having a conversation about the skill set.
No.
That Maye can make plays that Brissett can't. Is he ready to do that? Is he ready to take advantage of his skill set?
I don't know. I don't have all the information. I can't imagine that he's so far away from that being a possibility, especially if they curtail the offense to his strengths and call plays that he's comfortable with running. Like when they get him in the game at the end of the fourth quarter the other night, it wasn't perfect. He had a lot of mistakes in that drive, honestly. But you still see the flashes in his ability to make plays.
He's more gifted. There's no question.
And it will get better. Like he will get better as the course of the season and as he continues to play at some of the little things that he's still missing. And I am worried that they're so apprehensive about playing him because I don't necessarily think it's about him. I think it's about them and the situation.
Yeah,
do you think it's reasonable to say that the coaching staff this year should be creating and tailoring the offense to Drake Maye behind the scenes to go forward with?
Well, that's what we talked about.
Like that should be
Fred's
what's
very
created.
angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm saying I know
phone calls and everything.
I know. Yeah. Oh, I understand what Fred's mad that they're just running that play. But if you're actively saying like, look, we have to go off the offense we know, but really, the goal that we want behind the scenes is we're going to create an offense for you. And it's going to take some time. We've got to get to know you. We've got to get to know some of our parts. We understand our players aren't great fits for the scheme that we know right now, but really, I think that probably gets back to wanting a creative offensive coordinator who could come in here and really build something from the scratch for Drake so that it starts to come to fruition at the end of the year. You've got a new offense. You're not just going to be running Drake Maye out there next year in this offense trying to make him do the same thing Jacoby would be doing. I wonder how much they're doing that behind the scenes.
It's just really tough because Jacoby, comparatively speaking, is so physically limited compared to Drake that if Drake Maye is going to run a shotgun offense, you look at the teams across the league that run that kind of offense, they all have playmaking quarterbacks. So they all have these guys that have all these physical tools to work with. You can't put Jacoby Brissett in an 85% shotgun offense.
But even if they're doing what Deuce is saying, behind the scenes, building this offense for Drake, it can only be on paper at this point. On practice, you're practicing to win a game that week with your offense.
Right.
It's not like you can have a second. Okay, now we're gonna practice the offense of the future. That's not happening unless Drake Maye's in the game.
Right, because they're trying to run an offense that they believe is the best chance to win Sunday.
Right.
Right, but that is because Jacoby Brissett can't play the other way.
Right.
So if you're going to put him in the gun and you're going to spread the field and just say, make something happen, Jacoby, then it's going to look terrible. So, you have to – that's the biggest problem.
It's all crazy right now.
Yes.
You did this. You did this.
I've been doing this to myself for the past, 3 nights.
It gets back to that point of, the quarterbacks that did sit. You take Mahomes, for example. He sat behind Alex Smith for, 14 games or 15 games. But Andy Reid was still running his offense. It's just that when Mahomes went in, it was that offense times 10 because he could extend plays and do things and sideways and, between his legs that Alex Smith couldn't do. But it was still Andy Reid's offense, and he didn't have to, put in a new offense for Patrick Mahomes.
And I do think as long as Alex Van Pelt stays here, that's what Drake Maye is going to be asked to do.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's going to look different, and I think Evan brought up the point earlier, he'll be in the gun a little bit more,
right,
and stuff like that. But it's going to be the same offense. They're not just going to run a whole different offense.
No, but they'll run different plays within that offense for
him.
They'll
probably be looking to push the ball downfield a little bit more often, but they're going to ask him to sort of spread out and make some plays off platform that they wouldn't ask Brissett. But it's going to be the same principles.
Yeah, I just wonder when to take them at face value. And Jerod comes out and he says, we're sticking with Jacoby because he gives us the best chance to win. I'm just not 100% sold that that's the truth. Because if you run this offense with Jacoby and you run so much of these delay under center, bootlegs, play actions, 7-step drops, all this kind of, you're doing this behind the worst pass protecting offensive line in football. So if you put Drake in there and you spread the field and it's quick game, it's RPO, it's all these types of things that get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly by design, then your offensive line now all of a sudden is helped out.
But start with what he said. We're playing the quarterback who gives us the best chance to win. Should that be the determining factor at this point? Or should it be we're playing the quarterback of the future to get him ready?
I would say the second thing,
regardless of the win or loss.
I would say the second thing, but even still, I no matter which way you look at it, for me, I still think Drake is the answer. Because
he may not be the answer to win on Sunday, this Sunday.
He might not be, because I can't say that with 100%. That's just my opinion.
I get that, but should that be the motivating factor at this point?
No, but even if I'm right, then what difference does it make? Because
I know
both ways are right. It just, I don't know how you expect this personnel. Like we talked all summer long. Like I don't really know if they have the offensive line to run outside zone. Like I don't really know if they have the athletes to run this type of offense, and they've struggled with it. And they've struggled with the bootlegs. And if you can't play action off of the outside zone game, then what's the point of running outside zone?
So did they do that, when you watch the film? Did they run outside zone against the Jets Thursday night, like a good amount of their
Yeah,
run plays?
I mean, they ran like 6 times. But
no, I know they didn't have a lot of running plays in general. The reason I ask is it's another one of those, sort of approach questions. Mike and I, on the pregame show, we talked to Rich Cimini, remember? And Rich talked about where you can really hurt the Jets is on the edges. You can get the edge on them in the running game. Running at them isn't necessarily the way to go, but you can get them on the perimeter. And then they came out and they wanted to throw a little bit early. And, I guess the one running play that I remember that was sort of toward the edges was the play that Ramondre ended up face masking the guy, maybe hurting himself in the process. But that was a positive. That was like an 18-yard run.
Yeah.
So that was a positive play, and I didn't really think they went to that much.
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing with this scheme is that everything in the run game is designed to play action off the run game. So if you're not able to play action successfully and you're not building play action off of the run game, then the run game becomes null and void at that point.
Yeah.
Like the whole goal is to create explosives off the pass game. So if you're not sequencing it together and it's not marrying up and you're not doing that sort of thing, then the whole system is just kind of coming down. Like you're running it to do what they did in the first couple of weeks, which is to keep the score down and time of possession and play that kind of football, but you're not necessarily doing it to be a productive offense. So if you can't play action off this run game, then there's no point of trying to install this outside zone system.
Let's see. Dan in Michigan from Virginia says, Fred, I got your silver lining right here. The Jets had a great game, which will only add to the anticipation their fans are feeling for the season. That will make it all the more sweeter when the Jets jet it up again and crash and burn. That's a good point.
Right, and it gets, and I know Dan's being snarky, but it gets to the point where, we talked about the Jets and heading into this. We all said, I think, how did you put it, Fred? Like, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, that's going to be a team that has a lot going for it. And I think that everybody around here refused to, like, no one said, like they're going to match up and beat the Jets. It was the Jets are going to Jets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's what you.
Yeah.
They'll screw up.
That's what you're pinning your hopes on.
Right.
The Jets doing Jets things and Aaron Rodgers getting hurt.
Right.
Those are the two factors that, like, no one says, like, no, they're not that good.
No.
Yeah.
Because they're really good.
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball, they have good personnel.
Yep. Ben in
in
Brooklyn, given the unsportsmanlike penalties, is there any chance Mayo was seeking an identity and coached them to be tough, but they took it too far? Now that Jamar Chase seems to be settling in, what other high-talent disgruntled players should we be keeping an eye on? I know quality linemen don't get moved during the season, but I'd love to see them make a deal for the future. Another pass rusher, wide receiver, cornerback would be great, though I don't know what chips we have to deal other than picks. I just like to take advantage of our cap space. I think that's going to happen next year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the unsportsmanlike penalties.
Yeah, I don't think that was coached.
I don't know what
They were both bad penalties, but do you guys think Jamar Chase is a legitimate option?
No, he's saying now that he's settling in, he's off the table.
He was never on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder.
He said, "What other disgruntled guys do we have on the radar?"
So now we're moving on.
I don't think that was ever like.
Well, I get what he's saying.
Is anybody holding out that's not actually playing? Because those are the guys that you go after.
Right.
Just
T.
Hassan
Higgins.
Reddick.
T. Higgins looked pretty good last night.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he didn't. But
the trade deadline, you're going to give up a lot of capital to get a really good player. It's not going to happen.
I almost wonder if they go the opposite direction at the trade deadline.
Oh, that's what I would do.
Sellers.
Sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jones. Be one.
Wow, that's sad.
Veteran.
But just
When
like
he
any,
it would.
I mean, like Uche's in the last year, like he's signed a 1-year deal.
Is
Like
that your take? What is this?
Is that your developing take?
Uche.
No.
I can't wait for the end of
He's
the show.
actually an offensive player. Like what?
But Uche last, 1-year deal. I keep saying last year. 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Contender needs a pass rusher.
Little juice.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out of the realm.
I mean, they almost traded him last year. So.
Yeah.
I would think about him. I would, I would think about Jonathan Jones. I kind of like Jonathan Jones so much as a person and as a leader. I think that would be tough to say we're going to let that guy go. But yeah, I mean, some of those decisions I think are going to be tough for Elliott Wolf. But I think he probably needs to make one or two like that and see if you can get, an additional draft pick, even if it's not as high as you think. And it's hard to get. Sometimes the trading deadline can be funny. Sometimes you give up more than you think, and sometimes you get a guy for less than you think, too. So, like Mohamed Sanu for a second-round pick, you're like, wow, a second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu, that seems like a lot.
You need him.
But then you've got other guys that get traded, and you're like, wow, you only got a conditional fifth? So you never know.
Yeah, in hindsight, honestly, the Judon trade is looking pretty good right about
I think
now.
the Judon trade was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they got a really good return for him. He's been okay with Atlanta, but it hasn't been anything crazy. Certainly not pre-injury Judon.
I mean, the Patriots would be 1-2 if Judon was on the team, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he would have been the difference between a winner and a loss. I mean, I know you could say, well, an overtime game, if you had a pass rusher, maybe you get off the field. That's certainly possible.
But usually at the end of games, that's when he kind of fades.
Certainly possible that maybe he had a sack on one of those scoring drives and Seattle didn't score.
Yeah.
You could make that argument.
He looked a little heavy watching the game the other night, the Atlanta game.
Well, what were they saying? Like, whenever they say about a player, the Falcons are trying to get Judon too. That means that there's something in his game that they're like
Play
they don't
hard.
like,
Commit to the team.
Yeah. Greg and Shrewsbury, how many more years do you think David Andrews has left? Should they look for a draft pick next year for this position?
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't have to draft centers high.
But that's a 5th or 6th round pick.
Right.
I mean, Andrews himself was undrafted.
Jake Andrews got him in the mix.
Yeah, and I don't know what his status is. That's a good point. They might not even need to, but
Cole Strange.
Yeah, to me that's a day 3 pick on interior offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You take a couple of flyers there, and usually one of them hits.
Just draft somebody from Wisconsin, you'll be fine.
Day 3 pick, and Jake Andrews and Mafe. Mafe didn't hit.
Robinson.
We don't know about Andrews, and so did hit. At least he's still here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get one of those corn-fed linemen from the Midwest.
Nebraska in the old days.
Yeah.
I do wonder
Dave
if they
Remington?
try Cole Strange at center.
Yeah.
He's a little tall to play center. That's like the one issue, but if they're going to run this scheme, then
Take anybody at this point. I mean,
could
they
see
just need depth. They need bodies.
Yeah.
Jordan in Hawaii. I know it's week 3 with a very young coaching staff across the board. However, I think a lot of what this team is comes down to the coaches and not the players. On defense, why are we playing these soft, cushy zones back-to-back weeks against these veteran quarterbacks who are just picking us apart underneath and finding the soft spots in the zones? And then on the offense, we run for 180 yards back-to-back weeks, then decide, let's abandon that. What are we doing? And I think the thing that grinds my gears the most is why does it feel like when Mayo gets on the podium, he gets hit with truth serum and says, I don't know, we'll see who starts. Then the next day, seems like AVP is playing damage control and acting like the head coach, and it's his decision who plays quarterback. At this rate, AVP is going to wrap Maye in a bubble wrap and stick him in a closet strapped to a chair watching film for all of 2024. Do you get that sense?
It's a little bit of an exaggeration, obviously, but I do get that sense. I get the sense that coming off the field on Thursday night against the Jets, when they asked Jerod Mayo, is Jacoby Brissett still your quarterback? And he said, I don't know. He then said on WEI on Friday or yesterday or whatever that was, that he spent all night watching the tape and then came away from it, and suddenly he had clarity that Jacoby
That was the
Brissett
press
was the
conference
quarterback.
Friday, right?
Yeah.
He said that he is the starting quarterback.
Yeah. Well,
I do wonder if Mayo was looking to make that move sooner than Elliott Wolf and Alex.
That to me, I'm going to be consistent. And I thought after the game on Thursday night that unlike previous regimes, whatever they decide to do with May or Jacoby, Mayo will announce it early in the week, and he did. Because he doesn't want this whole thing all week. So when Drake Maye is ready, I don't believe it's going to be a mystery. Or when they're ready to play Drake Maye, it's not going to be a mystery.
Right.
He'll start the week off saying we're getting Maye to start this week. It won't be something where, we're going into the game, it's undecided.
I agree.
Yeah.
My bigger thing with it, I guess, is just he claimed on EEI that he went back and watched the film and then changed his mind. He thought Jacoby wasn't the problem. It was a line. It was this. There was fair argument. My fear is, because I sometimes am like Paul and think of the worst case scenario, is that he's going back to Elliott and to Alex Van Pelt, and they're telling Jerod, calm down, be patient, hold your water,
stay the course.
So you think he wants Maye in, and they're talking him out
I think
of it.
he's wanted Maye in since the preseason when he said that he outplayed Jacoby in the summer.
I kind of think that too.
As a former player, going with the more talented guy has to be so attractive to Jerod Mayo. And I think it's the other people. It's Van Pelt. It's Elliott.
So why,
it's McAdoo.
If that's true, and again, we're just conjecturing here. We don't have any inside knowledge. We don't know that that's a fact. But if it's true, why and for what reason are they trying to talk him out of it? Why is it in AVP's interest and Elliott Wolf's interest, or not as in their interest, but what are the factors that they're saying, no, you still got to keep Brissett in there?
What do I... My guess is they're telling himself that Drake isn't ready. Like that, I'm sure that's what it is that he's not ready. But truthfully, I feel like they
But
think
could that be true?
It could 100%.
True.
I think they're more worried about the scenario than anything else.
I just don't know if I buy it from Elliott Wolf, though. Alex Van Pelt, if he's in the weeds with it and he's, meetings every day with the quarterbacks and he, that carries water, but I don't know why Elliott Wolf.
Well, we just threw Elliott Wolf's name in there, but it could be AVP and it could be Ben McAdoo and TC McCarthy.
But to the point, I just wonder if when you have a plan and you're determined to just do what Green Bay does, and these guys all came from Green Bay, well, that's the way we did it there. That's the way we're going to do it here. I think this has been predetermined.
Okay, give me Aaron Rodgers, and we'll start him over
Fred,
Drake Maye.
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah,
I'm saying they have decided.
I don't believe
they decided when they signed Jacoby Brissett that Drake Maye wasn't going to start this year.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's the way I feel. I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Okay.
I think
that's your opinion.
I think Mayo is a dissenter. I don't think he wants to go down that road. I think he wants to play Maye when he feels like he's ready. I think that the other two are going to come up with different reasons to not play him throughout the year.
You cannot tell. I cannot tell you how much that press conference from AVP on Friday drove me up a wall. So we're going to say that Jacoby did everything right in the game, but Drake Maye had footwork regression on his 12 dropbacks when he made 2 plays that were more plays than the offense had made all night long. But when he got into the game, the footwork regressed.
So and then
but wait a minute, hold on. Wasn't that in answer to a specific question about things that he was looking at with him in the game?
But it's
we got to be fair.
No, because he's not being fair to Drake. Like, why would I be fair to him? No, but he's not being fair. Like he's being overly critical of a rookie that in his first regular season game ever, where clearly the kid was nervous.
No, but it was
he said that after the
question.
game.
Nobody asked him, "Hey, what were the things that Jacoby Brissett needs to work on?" Nobody cares, and nobody asked it.
But he sticks his neck out for Jacoby any chance that he gets. And he sits there and he says all the time that Jacoby's our quarterback. Jacoby's the best chance to win the game.
Because he knows he's a sacrificial lamb. There's no reason to nitpick him.
Okay, I would just, if we're gonna be honest about one guy, I would just rather be honest about both.
I think the context is different.
So I think you're getting really close to the point. I know we're getting late in the show, but I think you're getting really close to the point where the offensive production is so bad that I don't possibly envision a scenario that it gets any worse. And you can talk about turnovers all you want.
Yep.
What's the difference?
Who cares? I'm with you there. I'm with you.
If you make some plays and you turn it over, I'll take that. Caleb, we talk a lot about Jaden Daniels because he was great last night. If I was Chicago and I watched the game Sunday with Caleb Williams played, I'd have a lot of excitement about that.
I'm with you.
He turned the ball over 3 times.
There's nothing he's doing that says, he can't play.
He turned the ball over 3 times.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's probably why they didn't win the game. They didn't score enough because he turned it over. He had 2 picks and a fumble.
Right.
But he also threw for 363 yards.
Now, I'm very excited if I'm a Bears fan.
He made some incredible throws and some incredible plays. He gets his rookie first-round pick, Rome Odunze, really involved in that game. He has Cole Kmet, who was kind of quiet the first couple of games, suddenly with a 100-yard game. If I was a Bears fan, I would much rather watch my guy turning the ball over and making the amount of plays that he did than stay within the lines. Do not make a mistake. Do not score points. Shorten the game. Like, at some point, you have to make a decision. Is our goal to be competitive or is our goal to be good?
Right.
Because right now, it seems to me the goal is just to be competitive.
Right.
Right. And I don't mean to come at Fred or
End of rant.
No, you can come at me.
No, or AVP. I just, to me, it just comes back to like what Paul was saying, that they're finding reasons to not play the kid. And when he comes out and he says, it was almost like it was a softball laid up on a tee for him to point out the fact that his footwork isn't there yet. So that now, when all these people like us are questioning why isn't he playing, then he can say, well, the footwork regression, or Karen Guregian reporting that the film room isn't good enough, or whatever.
Like I said, I hope that was just an answer to a specific question, and I hope that when Jerod Mayo says, "Is he ready?" and he says, "Well, his footwork's not," I hope that's Mayo's not taking that as the reason why he's not playing.
The old adage where they always say, like in sports, like in a draft, like there are guys that are like the blue chips, the 5-star recruits, and you're like, oh, did you see? He needs work on this and this, but you see that skill, and then there's the other guy who's sort of under the radar that's like maybe a 3-star, and it's like, well, he does this well and that well, but he doesn't have the straight line speed. Like, they're always looking for the thing that a guy can't do to say no, as opposed to the guy who's well thought of. They just accentuate the one thing that he does do well. Well, I think there's a little of that going. Like, Drake Maye comes into the game and he didn't look great. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The first pass that he throws, I can totally see Alex Van Pelt saying, "See, that's why we can't play him. He threw the ball right to the linebacker. He didn't even see the linebacker. That's what's going to happen." Well,
so what? Right.
So what?
Yeah.
He then, did some things that were pretty good.
Right.
He also did some things that were pretty risky, like getting absolutely smashed on a
Right.
3rd down run. But how is a guy ever going to develop and learn if he doesn't get on the field and experience it? If you decide that he's not going to play at all this year, you're going to go into next year virtually in the same spot, having no idea about Drake Maye.
And by
I don't
the way,
care how much practice time you get.
If you planned on him not playing this year, you should have kept Bailey Zappi or somebody similar.
I would agree with that too. I would agree with that.
I just
too.
think that they're looking for reasons to.
That's my point.
But
see,
Paul,
he threw the ball
I
right to a
don't think that
linebacker.
was the plan. I think the plan is to play him this year.
No, I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they want him to. And by they, I mean Alex Van Pelt and Elliott Wolf.
Yeah, I don't
think they
know that's
want
your
him to play.
opinion.
They're going to lose.
My opinion is they are expecting him to play.
I mean, there was no way of proving either one of us right. They're going to lose their argument, in my opinion, because Jerod Mayo is going to win out because he's got someone really
he's the
strong
head
on his
coach.
side.
No, but he should be the head coach.
But I thank goodness that Jerod Mayo is going to win out. And if I'm
I
Jerod
agree.
at some point in this season, by the end of October, if we're not all in agreement, I'm going in there on Monday morning and I'm saying, Drake's playing, get him ready, and end of story. At some point we have to do that.
He's got to do that. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you disagree. He's now our starting quarterback, and you better coach the S out of him.
Yeah.
One more call on the TPX hotline, if I can get my Bluetooth mouse to work. Kendall is in North Carolina. What's up, Kendall?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Thanks for holding on.
Yeah, I'm with Paul. If Drake is ready, why not play him against San Francisco? Why does it matter the opponent? He's going to have to play the Jets defense twice. I mean, so that's getting ready for a tough day. Why does it matter about playing Miami or San Francisco? If he's ready, he should play Sunday.
No, I get what you're saying. I've got San Francisco versus Miami.
And
start.
I also get that, San Francisco at San Francisco is not ideal.
It's a monster.
It's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, that's all. I think we're coming from it is just there's certain teams that are in a different category of team. This is not them going on the road, to play even Cincinnati.
But
Like,
I'll tell you something. If all those personnel losses for San Francisco lead this to be a closer game than we're expecting, not to give away Thursday, but I'm sensing a tone here.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden you're in like a 20-13 game, there'll be second guessing. There'll be some second guessing.
That
If
you
you
should have
played
had
a
Maye
different
in there.
quarterback,
Yeah.
maybe you could have scored some points.
Yeah. And it would be fair.
Yeah.
It's fair second guessing.
That's only fair.
It's only fair. All right. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We will be back tomorrow at noon. What's the Catch-22 schedule this week?
A normal schedule, so Thursday at 2:30.
Thursday at 2:30. We got
2:30.
Playbook tomorrow. Matt is nodding his head yes.
2 o'clock playbook.
We can't hear you.
2:30 2:30 playbook.
What?
2:30 playbook.
No, not
they,
working.
They can hear. the
All right.
listeners can-
Anyway, for Evan, Paul, Deuce, myself, Matt, we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.